More negative attention for the Thunder Bay Police Service and its board. Ontario's Inspector General of Policing is investigating after more public complaints. Good evening and thank you for joining us. The Thunder Bay Police Service is facing the first issue-specific inspection conducted by the Inspector General.
The probe comes following complaints about several unresolved death investigations. Justin Hardy joins us in studio with more. Justin, how big a deal could this investigation be for the police service?
Ryan, this could bring about massive changes to the way policing is done in the city. We spoke with Inspector General Ryan Teschner this afternoon. He says the probe could lead to specific directions to City Police and the Police Services Board, which they must adhere to. And if they don't, they could face more serious consequences, including the potential disbandment of the Thunder Bay Police Service. Inspector General of Policing for Ontario Ryan Teschner is launching an investigation into the Thunder Bay Police Service in accordance with his legislative mandate under Ontario's Community Safety and Policing Act, which came into effect April 1st. Teschner says his office received 3 complaints last spring, and he's committed to ensuring residents here and the Indigenous communities in and around the city receive the effective, responsive, and accountable policing they deserve.
The complaints that we received were brought to us by Anishinaabe-Aski Nation on behalf of 2 families who lost loved ones, and a separate complaint by another individual that lost a loved one. They were all related to deaths of individuals in Thunder Bay, and all raised concerns in the complaints about how those death investigations were being conducted, how information was being provided or not being provided to families.
NAN leaders, along with the families of Jenna Osberg, Corey Boleski, and Mackenzie Munoz, called on the Inspector General in late April, demanding the Thunder Bay Police be disbanded and a new police service be appointed to investigate the deaths of their loved ones. The Inspector General's probe will evaluate how well the City Police conduct death and missing person investigations, focusing on compliance with the CSPA and leading practices. The police force and its governing board will also be assessed on how they're addressing past recommendations made by other oversight bodies. The inspection could result in directions being placed on the force or the police board. Teschner says further failure to follow those directions could result in steep consequences.
That can include suspending or removing chiefs of police or members of the police service board, or in extreme cases, disbanding a police service or dissolving a police service board. But of course, that's a process that follows an independent inspection, which we are just initiating today. It's a process that follows directions that have to be implemented if there are findings of non-compliance. Today is just the beginning of that.
Police Chief Darcy Fleury was not available for comment about the Inspector General's probe, but a police spokesperson says he will address the situation on Friday. Justin Hardy, TBT News.
Thunder Bay Police have charged a 23-year-old man with aggravated assault following a violent incident on Wentworth Crescent early Sunday morning. The adult male victim was located at the scene. Police say he was transported to hospital with serious but non-life-threatening injuries. The major crime unit was involved in the investigation that led to the arrest. The accused has appeared in court and remains in custody until his next appearance date.
The man arrested in a cold case homicide along the North Shore no longer faces a criminal trial.
48-year-old Nicholas Stazula was arrested 4 years ago in connection with the death of a woman in Schreiber in 2006, but the murder charge against him has now been stayed. Jonathan Wilson explains why.
42-year-old Janine St. Jean was found dead at her residence on Quebec Street in Schreiber in November of 2006. OPP ruled her death as suspicious, but the case remained unsolved for more than 13 years. Then in April of 2020, police announced that Nicholas Stazula had been arrested and charged with second-degree murder in connection with St. Jean's death. The longtime Terrace Bay resident was committed to stand trial on the charge following a preliminary hearing held in February 2022. Another hearing was held this past summer, where the Crown announced there was no reasonable prospect of conviction. As a result, the prosecution was terminated and the judge stayed the murder charge against Stazula. The Ministry of the Attorney General says when assessing the prospect of conviction, the Crown considers several factors, including the circumstances specific to the charge and the availability of evidence implicating the accused person. Jonathan Wilson, TBT News.
Nipissing OPP have made a significant drug bust in that community and arrested 6 people for trafficking. A large number of officers carried out a search warrant at Harkness Street residence on Tuesday. It's the second drug bust at that address in 5 months. Police confiscated about $32,000 worth of illegal drugs, including cocaine and meth, along with cash and a homemade sword. OPP arrested 3 men and 3 women, ranging in age from 35 to 65. 4 of the suspects are from Nipissing. 1 is from Ignace, and another is from Gorham Township. All 6 face drug trafficking charges, while 1 man is also charged with possession of a dangerous weapon.
Thunder Bay police officers were at the right place at the right time yesterday afternoon. They were already in the area of Arthur and McKellar Streets when they spotted a robbery in progress. A 24-year-old is accused of threatening an elderly man and demanding money from him. The suspect tried to flee when officers arrived, but was arrested after a brief foot pursuit. The accused has been remanded into custody.
Thunder Bay Police Chief Darcy Fleury was at St. Joseph's Hospital yesterday afternoon for the first of a new series of public engagement events called Chat with the Chief. The question and answer session was open to the public. Key topics of discussion were mental health, addictions, and safety in the downtown core. A trend quickly emerged as many in attendance believe there's a need for a greater police presence with regular patrols. Some pointed to residential back alley crimes and the increase in thefts at local downtown businesses. They say simply seeing police in heavily populated areas could deter crime. Chief Fleury says he understands the desire for more widespread and consistent patrols, but notes the force's resources are stretched thin. The main reason for that is mental health calls, with an average of 185 of them a month.
Big impact on us. Really, it's occasions where I've been coming to the office and see all of our vehicles at the hospital. So it's a real strain on the resourcing because we just cannot leave somebody that's in some sort of crisis or some sort of episode. We have to make sure that they're treated properly. So taking them to the hospital, we have to spend the time with them and make sure. And then after they're cleared, if they are cleared, then we manage it as a policing concern.
Chief Fleury hopes to see an expansion of programs like impact teams, where police are paired up with mental health workers and nurses to better assess people's needs when officers are called. Another chat with the chief is scheduled for November 27th at the Brody Library.
A 26-year-old Thunder Bay man faces child pornography offenses after police raided a Nora Street home in September. Nicholas Tessier turned himself in earlier this month. He's accused of possessing, accessing, and distributing the material. Tessier remains in custody following an initial court appearance.
There's a promise from Queen's Park to conduct an audit of children's aid societies.
It comes after Premier Doug Ford raised concerns about financial mismanagement. CTV's Siobhan Morris has the story.
The promise is to leave no stone unturned to help kids in an audit of Ontario's 37 non-Indigenous children's aid societies.
We want every child, every youth in this province to be set up for success.
The review will look at the quality of service, staffing, compensation, and finances, with deficits rising. Last week, the Premier said he'd heard what he called
nightmare stories about the abuse of taxpayers' money. Working in Taj Mahals, they're paying rent $100,000 for rent. The managers are giving themselves a bonus.
The minister in charge insists the money is there.
We provided unprecedented funding to the sector.
$1.7 billion this year, a figure that's increased by $129 million over the last decade.
While child protection cases has reduced by 29%.
But the Ontario Association of Children's Aid Societies says those cases are getting more complex and more expensive, that the number of kids requiring care costing more than $200,000 annually has doubled in the last 3 years, from 174 to 354.
What we need is immediate investment, immediate action to ensure that services are available, that they're safe.
And housing available.
We have kids sleeping in the hotel rooms. We have kids sleeping in Airbnbs and children's aid societies.
It's something Ontario's ombudsman has been troubled by. He's already investigating. Taylor says the problem isn't just underfunding in the child welfare system, but in other supports like autism and mental health.
They're handing their kids over to a system, hoping that they're going to be able to get better services, that they'll get quicker services. And we know that's not the case.
The government is just starting the process of looking for a third party to perform the audit.
The goal is to have a report to act on in the spring. At Queen's Park, Siobhan Morris, CTV News.
A former Kenora resident who now hosts events to help people recover from addiction was in Thunder Bay today. The Empower to Recover Foundation hosted an event at the Superior Inn called Battle for Recovery. To mark World Mental Health Day, the event brought people together from all walks of life. The Empower to Recover Foundation is a national not-for-profit that helps people kick their addiction in a variety of ways and encourages them to live their best life. Executive Director and founder Jay Barnard has organized events like this across Canada since last year, helping people in ways they never thought possible.
Foot doesn't fit the same shoe, so that's what we got to kind of understand, right? And really it's about educating people that there just isn't one way to recover. So, my hope is that they do try different things. Jump outside the box. Go start living your dreams and goals. Start doing your aspirations. Like, you're not just stuck inside a box, and you're just not stuck inside of doing this, and you're just not stuck inside of doing that. Your life is your life, and how do you want to live your life?
Barnard also hosts a community cable show called The Daily Dose of Recovery, which airs in many parts of Ontario. And there's a podcast for those looking for inspiration.
Thunder Bay Fire Rescue teamed up with a well-known local author today as part of Fire Prevention Week.
Jeannie Penzawal was at McKellar Park School reading her illustrated children's story about fire safety. Jaden Billick has more.
Award-winning author Jean E. Penzawal had the opportunity to read her book titled No Dragons for Tea for these McKellar Park Elementary students, alongside the captain of fire prevention, Kevin Anderson. The morning was a fun and engaging way of promoting overall fire safety strategies for the students, as this information is crucial knowledge for everyone, including these little guys.
It's like anything else. If we can teach them young, hopefully we can change those stats of people that don't have working smoke alarms or don't have evacuation plans. That's how you got to start with the children, and hopefully we'll see changes. We still do have 100 fire deaths in Ontario every year, so we're trying to reduce that number, and this is the best way to do it.
The duo concluded the classroom session with a few key questions for the students, gathering their knowledge of the school's safe exit spots and meetup areas, as well as refreshing their ways of staying safe in the event of an emergency. This year also marks the 25th anniversary of Penzawal's book.
So this has been a tool, this book has been a tool that firefighters and educators and safety educators have been using for the past 25 years to empower kids and teach them about fire safety so that they can learn what to do if there is a fire, if a fire alarm goes off, and how they can safely get out of a building.
In conclusion of Fire Prevention Week, Anderson is encouraging the public to stop by Fire Station 1 on Vickers Street this coming Saturday for an open house. Additional information booths, fire extinguisher training, and activities for the little ones will be happening from 1 p.m. to 3 p.m. Jaden Billick, TBT News.
Well, Haley, maybe no dragons for tea, but today, especially with the low that we saw earlier, might have been a nice day to have some tea nonetheless, maybe with some friends.
Yeah, exactly. No dragons allowed here, but no. I did enjoy the day for sure. Our low was -1 with a wind chill of -4. So like you say, you might be wanting some tea then, but that was at 2 in the morning. So you might not even be up to be drinking your tea at that point. But during the day when most of us are up and sipping a beverage, it was 18 as our high today. That happened at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, perfect for a coffee break. But it didn't come without its challenges though, because we were expecting a more sunnier day. We were hoping that the clouds would clear in the afternoon, but it was a mostly cloudy day for the most part, getting even cloudier now really. And the winds also picked up as well in the afternoon, just about when we were hitting our high of the day. That's when gusts from the south-southeast came in, almost at 30 kilometers an hour. So definitely a little breezy. But other areas in the region didn't have as cloudy of a day. Dryden in particular was actually mostly sunny for the day, so they got a little lucky there. They're at 20 degrees right now, which is their high. Atikokan in a similar situation, but their high was 22, which is what Fort Frances is at right now, with a mix of sun and cloud today, partly cloudy at the moment. Fort Frances was the warmest area in the region, though, with a high of 24 and Humidex making it feel like 25. So definitely a cool beverage for them today. Areas like Red Lake and up to the northwest, they had a little bit of a cloudier day as well. The clouds really wanted to stick around. Areas like Red Lake, Sioux Lookout, Pickle Lake, and Uppsala are all at 19 right now. So we are already starting to see our cool down for our evening hours. That includes Armstrong. They're at 17. They actually are at their high for today, so they're not cooling down quite yet, but it is cooler in comparison to the rest of the region. But in general, the eastern portion of the region was cooler today. They didn't see as much of a wind gust, but it could be seen at times around the 30-kilometer mark, just like in Thunder Bay, in areas like Nipissing, Marathon, and Wawa. Wawa and Marathon are both at 13 right now. Sault Ste. Marie is getting some nice sunshine at 15 at the moment. Now, although it was a little cloudy today, which isn't everybody's favorite, we are looking to see an interesting evening in Thunder Bay tonight as our low is 9 degrees. So once again, one of those situations where cloudier, especially as we approach midnight, but with the warm temperature, could be comfortable to go out for a walk. And we might want to enjoy this warm temperature because we could be seeing a cool down as the next few days approach.
Okay, thanks a lot, Haley. All right, when we return, we will turn our attention to Florida, where they are cleaning up after Hurricane Milton. Some good news, it didn't slam the state quite as badly as many had feared, but there were fatalities and plenty of damage. We'll have all of those details for you right after the break.
I've lived here all my life. I've never seen anything like this.